Hello, hello. It's the holiday season. My man Jesse's got a perfect background going today, um, with the Christmas spirit and live. Um, but we got our Thursday night football game today between the Chargers and the Raiders, and we got several player prop bets from the Sleeper Pick app. Um, Mainly because there's so many injuries in it, and we don't know who's gonna excel, and we want to throw as many darts as possible on this game with the injuries. Jesse, do you kind of want to go down with the whole injury conversation? I know you're pretty up to date on it.
Yeah, so Josh Jacobs was just ruled out, so that is going to bring in the fun RBBC committee that we've been talking about all year with a few of these running backs. It brings Amir Abdullah into play for the the Raiders, and it also brings Amir White into play. If that's a bet you want to take with these guys, we'll hit on that. But we have backup quarterbacks, so we are still rolling. We're Easton Stick, which sucks for the pass catchers for the Chargers, and on the other side is Aiden O'Connell, who last I heard was the guy that's starting. We still don't 100%. I haven't heard confirmation from Antonio Pierce, but he was the guy they were leaning towards. They were debating giving it back to Jimmy G or whatever. But at the moment, it's him. Devontae Adams is cleared, so he's going to play. So thankfully, we got Devontae Adams. Interestingly enough, Josh Palmer's back. So Josh Palmer's playing again. He's been missed a few weeks. He's been out a while. So he's going to step in. And I hate to break it to Quentin Johnston fans, but he's the wide receiver one in that offense when he's back. We've seen that the entire time. And the tight ends seem like they're healthy. So the issues with Everett and Mayer, but those guys are healthy. So it's pretty chaotic right now. With the big names are out. These teams look like shells of themselves compared to where they started the season, right? Like we lose the two important quarterbacks. We lose Josh Jacobs. Eckler's been in and out of lineups. It's been a wild year for both of these teams. You could say it has been disappointing for both of them. I don't think anybody would argue with that statement. And they're still both fighting for playoff spots, so they're technically alive. And I think this is key for someone like Eckler or on the flip side, those receivers, because they want to still compete. And obviously, with the injuries and how impactful they've been, it's kind of shaking everything up, right? Because we lost Keenan. Oh, Aaron knows. Yes, me and my Josh Dobbs takes are not holding up so strong right now, but that is the life we live running with these backup quarterbacks. Yeah, so with Aiden O'Connell and Easton Stick, who, if you all were watching the game last week, you saw him throw a 105-mile-an-hour fastball in the end zone past Austin Eckler's head. He was wide open, and he missed him by like 5 yards. It was literally just had to lob it and just gunslinged it, and I was like, oh, my word. But this is actually works. Like, this is good news for Eckler that Keenan Allen's out, because who else on that offense are they going to go to, right? And both these defense are suspect for fantasy against the opposing teams. Like, the Chargers get absolutely decimated in pass coverage. Like, they are the worst pass coverage team in the league. The Raiders defense has just been a sieve of fantasy points. So, like, hello, Austin Eckler this week. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. But yeah, that gives you a little bit of context of what's going on in this game with two disappointing teams. But it should be fun. Like, there's some good options, as chaotic as it sounds. How are you feeling about if you're rolling out like Eckler or Palmer or these guys in your lineups today, bro?
Pretty good. I think Eckler. He's going to be the security blanket, and I mean if he's pl- doesn't get injured, I think he's going to be featured more, right? They're going to run the offense through him, and a good thing happens when you feed Eckler more and more in the game. And I think they just take it out of the hands of the quarterback and put it in the hands of their best player remaining, and that's Eckler. Um, and like you said, Palmer, when he's healthy, and especially with Keenan Allen out, he does command a pretty good targets there. Um, so he steps into that wide receiver one, and probably becomes the um, first read on passing plays outside of Eckler, right? If it's not a design pass to Eckler, I think it goes to Palmer. But then it's up to the quarterback to to deliver the ball accurately. So that is that's the risk we're going to have with the Chargers is uh, turnovers and maybe a lack of scoring potential. But the Raiders, they can be a good defense, but they're like Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll. One week they're good, one week they're not. You never know how it all matches up. Um, Again, it's like you said, it's a very chaotic game coming into this game. So I have no idea what to expect, but I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think one team is better than the other, especially since Justin Herbert's not playing. So yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be. That's the thing that sucks. If we had Herbert, we'd at least know like the offense would be up to a certain point. He can guide them a little bit. With Easton Stick, it's these backup quarterbacks. They step in. You really don't know what you're going to get in one game sample sizes. They can be good and they can perform, a la Josh Dobbs a few weeks ago. But on the flip side, they can have 4 turnovers. Like this is the range of outcomes with these guys. They're just the floor is very low with backup quarterbacks. The ceiling they can hit, but if they get pressured and they're not able to do their reads and they get flustered, like this is where turnovers, bad decisions happen, and it snowballs. And you can have really bad games with these quarterbacks. So for fantasy purposes, I really don't want to start either one of these quarterbacks. Like if you're starting either one of these quarterbacks, you're probably not looking too good this week. So if that is your option, I urge you to look somewhere else for the quarterbacks. But we can kind of jump into these props if you want to jump into these props and
Yep.
a little bit. The first one is the free prop. It's the Devontae Adams. It's cash money. I was honestly going to take the Adams prop even before that. It was at 55.5 yards, and they just sleeper gave us the benefit of giving us 0.5. So use the FFLW promo code. You know what this one is. This is automatic as long as Adams is healthy, right? You get the promo code, you roll with that, and you go with there. Like there's not too much to think about. He is the most important player on this offense by far. Probably him and Eckler are like the two guys that are going to be heavily featured because as bad as Chargers are against running backs, like I don't think Zamir White is very good. And that is the bigger problem for that offense. So you're going to see a lot of pass attempts in this game because we've seen Zamir White multiple years in the NFL. He's done nothing. He hasn't really done anything for Josh Jacobs. Like he's just been a guy who's been change of pace and if that. And he's still splitting work with Amir Abdullah, who we'll get into a little bit, where he's seeing the passing down work. So it's very hard for Zamir White to pay off in this game. Like he needs a touchdown. Like he desperately needs a touchdown. So if you're rolling out, because I put out a tweet a couple minutes ago, I was like, I urge you to stay away from Zamir White in this game. And people are like, oh, I gotta play him. I'm like, okay, I get it, but you need a touchdown. It's kind of what we do with Kareem Hunt and those guys, right? If they don't get you a touchdown, it's very difficult. So you want the best pieces in this offense because backup quarterbacks hyper target the number one option in the offense. That's Devontae Adams. We've seen it with Aiden O'Connell. He's been the guy in that offense. Jacoby Myers has been kind of hit or miss, but it's Devontae Adams. And the same thing, like this is why we like Palmer and also Austin Eckler, because backup target or backup quarterbacks will target their running backs. They'll take the check downs or they'll take the easy passes to the tight. Like that's kind of how it works. They don't make 4 reads, right? They're not going to go read 1, read 2, read 3. They're not going to do that. They're going to go first read. They're going to get it out. They just want to get the ball out. Like that's just life of backup quarterback. So we're going to roll into that one with Adams. How are you feeling about Adams in this game in general?
I mean, you hit the nail right. He's going to be the first read option, and good things happen. But I've seen teams take him away with double, tripling him, especially when there's a rookie quarterback playing. So there is a small chance that he gets frustrated in the first half. But he's got the best floor in this game outside of Eckler. So you're starting Adams, and this is a free square. So always hammer those free squares.
100%. Yeah, he's like in that Garrett Wilson, those guys where they have bad quarterback play, but they're target hogs. Like that's kind of that where he's at in this game. Like he could hit, and you see his yardage has been kind of like it's been pretty steady the last couple of games. There's been no blow up games because he's getting 12, 13 targets to get there. So it's like the volume aspect we're talking about, but overall, like I think it's a very safe bet with this one and just Adams in general. Like if you have him, you're starting him. You don't want to see Adams rolling up on your bench. There's nothing worse than when your set player rolls up on your bench. So you're just like, I purposely hate that. I'm actually going to jump to your prop from earlier. Let's talk about Hunter Renfrow, the secondary option in this offense. Why are you taking the over 25.5 receiving yards in this game?
Yeah, so I think you hit on it a little bit earlier, right? The Chargers are horrendous against wide receivers. They give up a ton of completions, ton of yards. I think they're ranked 3rd or 4th in fantasy points at the moment for the season to wide receivers. I think they were at number 1 for quite a couple of weeks. And Renfro has been coming along pretty well in the last couple of weeks. As you can see, he's broken 25.5 yards the last 3 weeks. And I think, he is alleviating some of the stress that Adams has by being that wide receiver too. So obviously he's not going to get 12 to 13 targets unless, the Chargers skew the entire secondary to Adams, but he's going to get his 4 to 5 targets and he's going to capitalize on them being against, uh, cornerback two, probably without safety help. So I think he's coming along pretty well. Obviously, um, and playing with the Chargers, who have one of the worst secondaries right now, is only beneficial.
Yeah, they give up the most passing yards in the league to quarterbacks. So we'll kind of hit on that in a little bit. But yeah, like this is where we're attacking the players going against a bad defense. And the Chargers, as much money as they put into that defense, they still can't solve passing issues. Like it's been a problem for them for multiple years. And they're third in fantasy points allowed to wide receiver. Or sorry, fourth. They give up 31.9 per game. Like their defense sucks. And by this I mean they're 11th against running backs and they're sixth against quarterbacks. So they're top 12 in points allowed to all of these positions. It's not bad. So this is why we always talk about Chargers being a good matchup for any offense. It raises the floor, is what it does, right? Doesn't necessarily mean the ceiling hits, but like it very much could be possible, which is why we like Adams. But I think it raises the floor with someone like Renfro, who's going to play the slot. He's going to be involved. In his last 3 games, he's seen 4 targets at least in all of those games. So realistically, right, I think it's a solid bet. You take it and you feel pretty good about it for being like the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, depending on the matchups. Like Chargers suck just all around. Like it's just we're gonna hammer this point home a lot. They're just not a good defense. It's not a good defense, so we're gonna hammer it. I'll kind of springboard that into the Aiden O'Connell prop over passing yards, and this is all kind of like we're hitting these Raiders props specifically a lot in this game. But like I talked about, they give up the most passing yards in the league to opposing quarterbacks. And Aiden O'Connell still has good weapons, even without Josh Jacobs. Like Jacoby Myers is a good wide receiver. Devontae Adams is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And Hunter Renfro is a solid slot wide receiver. He also has Micah Mayer, who's a very good young pass-catching tight end, and Amir Abdullah out of the backfield. And those of you forget about Amir Abdullah, like pass-catching is his specialty. That's what he's always been good at. So like he can step in and be that role. So like you're giving him options. I like it. And you see where his yardage has been. Look at this kind of like it's matchup dependent. The one that surprises me actually is him against Kansas City going for 248. But overall, like I think he can hit the 197 too. I think it's a solid bet. You're betting on Adams, we're betting on Renfro. Like we're gonna snowball that into basically a trifecta of going with Aiden O'Connell as well. So like if you're gonna go with it, you might as well go all the way with it. So I think it's a pretty good bet, honestly. How are you feeling about Aiden O'Connell in this game?
Yeah, like you said, it's just another scenario where they're playing a really bad Chargers secondary. I mean, the only risk is if the Charger D line somehow starts generating pressure again, that's a very very low risk. Um, but they do have the players on the D line to do so. But I mean, you got Adams, you got Renfro, you got the tight end, a pass catching running back. Um, and then they're not really good at running the ball either. And now they don't have Josh Jacobs, so you could see just on volume him getting 200 yards.
Yeah, right. Because like a couple weeks ago, he had 238 against the Chargers when they played. And the key part of this as well is there's no Joey Bosa in this game. He hurt his foot last week. He's out. So like this is another good pass rusher that they don't have this week. So he's not going to be under as much duress as he normally would be. So like overall, like it's all kind of lining up, I think, for Aiden O'Connell as well. These pass catchers in this. So they might not be the ceiling we're talking about, but like for prop bets, like I like these guys in these matchups specifically. We're just going against Chargers. Like it's that simple. We want all the options against Chargers.
We do have a couple Chargers. You Charger fans out there, we do have a couple Chargers coming up.
I think we have like 6 or 7 prop bets in this game total. We'll snowball that into one of the Chargers bets that we'll talk about. And we're gonna talk about Austin Eckler. And this was the bet you wanted to take. And this was even before Keenan Allen was rolled out, but this only just boosts Eckler even more. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this prop bet has shifted a little bit, but 31.5 over receiving yards for Austin Eckler. Like it just like we talked about, seems like a smash. Like I'm all aboard this. So why don't you let us know like why you're rolling with this prop bet?
I mean, it's another case of the game script, right? A wide receiver one is easier to game script out, but a running back is not, especially with the news Joey Bosa's not playing, and it's not like the. I mean, sorry, it's against the Raiders. I'm mismatching. But it's Austin Eckler, right? It's the best player they have. Keenan Allen is out. So if the Chargers want to win, it's going to be one of those, 20 plus rush attempts, 10 plus targets for Austin Eckler. And we know when Austin Eckler is targeted and rushing attempts are his volumes up there, he delivers. So in this case, I'm targeting the receiving yards because he's playing with a rookie quarterback. Austin Eckler is going to give the rookie quarterback the easiest targets, right? The easiest catches. So he's going to be the security blanket. And in terms of security blankets, Austin Eckler is probably the best security blanket you could have because he can take any pass and take it up the field or take it all the way to the house. So I think just based on volumes, he's going to hit one long run, long cat yards after catch,
Mhm.
and break this 32 yards receiving on just that one play.
Yeah, I'm all aboard Austin Eckler. Like we've talked about, like he's a guy I'm trusting. The usage was weird this year, like this year for Eckler, but he saw 7 targets last week with Aiden O'Connell, and like you said, no Keenan Allen. So that takes a mega target earner, one of the guys who's seen the most targets in the league, out of that offense, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it just shrinks the target pool and who it goes to. And Eckler still, as frustrating as Eckler has been this year, he's still seen over 50 targets. He's going to be probably pushing over 80 targets towards the end of the year because he's got 4 more games, and I would be shocked if he doesn't hit 10 in all of these remaining games, just because they're pushing towards the playoffs. Like they need him desperately in this offense, and it's the easy checkdowns against a defense that struggles against like running backs fantasy points allowed. Like the Raiders are not great against it either. So overall, I'm 100% with you. I think the Raiders are, where are they against running backs? I cannot find them. I'm blanking on it, but they've struggled. And the previous game for Eckler, if I pulled up, he was pretty good against the Raiders. So
Mm-hmm.
overall, or actually, no, he did miss it. That's right. He was injured. I'm mixing
It
those
was,
up. But yeah, I just like him a lot. I think this is a very good prop bet to take. So wheels up
yeah,
on Austin Eckler this week. Like he could be over 20 digits fantasy points. No problem. Like
right. And
that's
the Raiders are giving up 6.76 yards per catch to running back. So he needs five, or he
yeah.
needs four.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Like I feel like this might be the safest bet of all the bets. Like this one by far is just like, yeah, Eckler's gonna get the yards and the receptions. It's gonna be an awesome Eckler game. So like we're riding with that. Let's move on to our next one here. This is the Amir Abdullah prop bet, and what I'm doing is I'm taking the role that Jacobs has, and I'm just taking and shifting into Abdullah. Zamir White is like pretty much a negative pass catcher. Like he's not a good pass catcher. He doesn't play third downs. Like he's just not good in that role. He's very much a grinder. And Abdullah has been seeing work in almost all of his games. He's seen at least 1 target. So if we look at his stats this year, it's been solid for him. Even with Jacobs playing a heavy role, Abdullah's still seen 19 targets. He's basically at a pace of 1 a game. That gets bumped up with Jacobs gone, so that it shifts up a little bit. And I just don't see him like not hitting this one. This one seems fairly easy to me. You just get a couple check downs from Aiden O'Connell. You against Chargers defense that we talked about. Chargers defense, they struggle against opposing running backs. They're top 12 allowed. So overall, like I like this prop bet from Amir Abdullah. You take it and you just follow the targets in the path, and it just seems pretty easy because his snap share hasn't been great, but it's going to get a massive boost in this game. So I'm riding with this one too. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, right? Josh Jacobs was what, like 80% opportunities here. I mean he's not
Yeah.
playing. Not all of that is going to Zamir White, especially the third
Mm-hmm.
down role. So even if you take 40% of those touches and targets that Jacobs has goes to Amir Abdullah, especially playing that third down role. I mean, he's going to do this in one drive, right? He's going to catch
Mm-hmm.
2 passes. And for most likely, even if he doesn't do it in the beginning of the game, it's going to be like the 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 last drive of the first half, and then playing catch up in
Mm-hmm.
the second half. Like it's going to happen, and you know those drives are going to come, and
Yep.
where they're just going to feature Amir Abdullah the whole drive. So it's
Yeah.
common sense, I think, at that point. I think this might be the actual safest bet.
It could be like, especially if they get into the 2 minute drive, like if they have the ball with 2 minutes left, like they're just going to speed it up, and that's going to be checked down to Abdullah. We've seen Eckler do this for years. Like he was a 2 minute drive demon. They get with a 2 minute drive, and it's just like Eckler, right? Like they just get easy yards. And this is Abdullah. I mean, he's a bit older, but like I'm not even worried about. He's still a skilled pass catcher. This isn't even yards. This is just targets and catches. So yeah, like
Yeah,
that's it feels very safe. Like as weird as this game sounds, like these bets seem like I'm actually not too worried about some of these bets. This is one of the bets where I'm like, yeah, we've seen Abdullah do it before. He's going to kick off the old DOS, just like Jerick McKinnon's doing in Kansas City. Like we're going to see a guy step forward. He's done it multiple times, the same thing. So, yep, I think this is a pretty safe one. So this is the interesting one, and I was debating this one or not, but I just wanted to go for it. Michael Mayer's been actually pretty good this year. And it's 18.5 yards. It's not a high prop bet. So like I'm not too worried about it. But let me pull up the why to it. So interestingly enough, He's had between 13 and 19 in receiving yards in 5 of his last 7, but he's caught multiple passes for 19 plus yards in his previous 3 games with Aiden O'Connell. He's seen a fairly healthy yards per reception, 11.5. So you put all this together, and like he really only needs 2 receptions to kind of get over this. I think he's not going to be like checked down. He's going to push the field a little bit because that's what Mayer does. He's a capable tight end, and he's got skills in the receiving game. So overall, like it's 18.5. I like going against the Chargers once again. We're taking this bet, like we're rolling with it against a team that struggles to stop tight ends as well, and a skilled tight end at that. So overall, he's going to like work these linebackers over just because they're not going to be able to cover him. They can't stick with him. He's young, he's talented, athletic, so we kind of just ride with it. How do you feel about this one with the Michael Mayer prop bet?
I mean, it's another safe one, right? The Raiders don't give up that many fantasy points to them, but they do give up the ninth most completions to tight ends at a 9.3 yards per um, attempt, and I mean, sorry, 9.3 yards per completion. Um, and it's like you said, Michael Meyer has been coming along, and he doesn't need that many targets to break this 20 yards. And I mean, realistically, he needs 2 if
Yep.
if that yards per completion hits. So definitely an over on Meyer.
Yep, we got Aaron on board too. I like it. Like that's what we're rolling with here. So if you've seen it, like we've been very heavy on the Raiders in this game. It would not surprise me if they win. I'll just tell you the truth, like the way that offense goes. But I'm gonna kick over to the Chargers for one more Charger bet, and this is the Josh Palmer and what we talked about. So Josh Palmer's been good. I said this earlier. In the games where he's seen 80% snap share, he's gone over 60 yards in all of them. And guess what, folks? He's back. He's healthy. He's going to be in this role in the offense. Like, this is why I like Palmer this week. So I'm riding with Palmer against the Raiders defense. And I get it. Some people like Quentin Johnston. Aaron, who's in the chat right now, has bigger on Quentin Johnston. Me personally, I'm just going with the guy I know is earned targets. So he's going to be the wide receiver 1. They've talked about him. Even Herbert said he called him a special player. So I'm obviously Herbert's not playing, but like you trust the quarterback on this one. So I'm rolling with Josh Palmer over 3.5 receptions. You could take the yardage if you want to go yardage instead, because it's like 30 something. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have it on me, but it's like 35, I think it is. You could chase that, or actually, no, it's 36.5. So if you want to go the yardage, you can go there. I'm just going with the targets and receptions. Like I'm trusting in that because I kind of want to mix it up and not go with all just yards. So we're gonna go targets, and he's gonna earn targets, these receptions. This is what I'm going with. How confident are you in Josh Palmer tonight?
Yeah, I mean, pretty confident. Keenan Allen being out, the balls are going to go to, number 1 Eckler, number 2 is going to be either Palmer or Everett, and Quentin Johnson is going to be that decoy that he's been all season, which has been frustrating. But uh, it's however you dice and slice this, Palmer's going to get targeted this game without Keenan Allen, because even if you take 90% of Keenan Allen's targets and give them to Eckler, which is absurd, you're still got a pretty good amount of 10 targets to Josh Palmer. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think the ball's going to be spread out more. It's going to be uh, run, pass, Eckler, and then maybe change up will be Palmer or Everett. Is Everett even
Yeah.
playing? I don't even know if Everett's even playing, but
I think he said, let me see.
yeah,
Let's see what Sleeper says on Everett because there might be an update on it. But yeah, he was cleared. So it looks like he's a go. So
sure.
Everett's gonna play. So there's another
Yeah.
pass
So I
catcher. Yeah,
think the passing volume gets split between Palmer and Everett.
yeah. Like I think if you really want to chase Johnston, I think he can get a big play because that's kind of what he specializes in. Like what I've seen from Johnston, what's good is when they use him behind the line of scrimmage and screens and stuff like that. That's always been where he uses his strength. So hopefully the Chargers are listening. I mean, that would be great if they are. But they get him the ball underneath and let him kind of just work in open space because he's a weird prospect and he's just unique. So you got to find ways to get him the ball. But overall, Palmer's are going to see the targets. He's in games in the past when like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were out, like Palmer became the guy where he's seeing upwards of 10 targets in games. Like that's just kind of how it works. He's not as good. He's not on par with those guys, but he's just a standard NFL wide receiver. And if you're in that situation, like you still get a boost. You're not going to see all the targets, but you will see some targets shift your way. So that's kind of what we're going with here with Palmer.
Yep.
I think that is covers all of our prop bets. Yeah, so we kind of spread through these a little bit. But just to recap for you guys, Devontae Adams over basically 1 reception in the game. The sleeper pick prop bet that they dropped down from 68.5 to half a reception. So if you get a reception this one, it just feels like an auto lock. We're taking that one. Make sure you use the promo code FFLW. The next one is Josh Palmer over 3.5 receptions. Seems pretty standard on that one. The next one is Michael Mayer over 18.5 receiving yards. After that, we're doing Mir Abdullah over 1.5 receptions. Get this one really well. One that I really like that you picked is this Austin Eckler one over 31.5 receiving yards. And then we have Hunter Renfrow over 25.5 receiving yards. This one seems a little bit riskier, but I like it. I think he's going to hit it basically because we're betting on the quarterback of the situation, which is the final prop bet. It's Aiden O'Connell over 197.5 passing yards. So overall, we have a few Charger prop bets in, and we have a lot of Raider prop bets in. I think we have 7 total.
Yeah, and I feel like all of the prop bets, especially since they made the Devontae Adams one free, they're very, very low numbers. It's not like they're high numbers to hit. So even if it's a low scoring game or there's turnover centric kind of game, you still could hit a lot of these this props because they are so low and the floor is pretty solid, especially if you're the Raiders going up against the Chargers.
Right, like it's just with the over-under is 35.5. I think that's the updated total, so it is pretty low for the week. But that doesn't mean they can't get yards, and that's what we're betting on. I mean, if you really want to chase a touchdown, you chase it with Eckler in this game. That feels as safe as anybody doing it, but I'm not doing it in this game. I just don't trust the offense enough to be able to get those touchdowns which they need. Like they struggled to score last week. They only got 7 points at the last touchdown last minute, but it was a struggle to get there. But they got yards, and that's what we're chasing in this game is yards against 2 defenses that are suspect in certain areas. I think both teams can take advantage of that. And like overall, like I feel pretty good about these prop bets. Obviously, it could backfire because it's the nature of prop bets. But last week we hit 4 of 7. The week before I think we hit 5 of 7. So nice. The last couple have been pretty good. Like we've been steadily hitting about 60% of the props. So we hit it again this week. This win we roll with there. I keep talking about like I need to compile a spreadsheet of all the prop bets. I'm going to do it at some point. It's just I get too distracted with all stuff for
next season.
Next season
we'll make it better next season.
Right, exactly. We have them up and all that stuff. So, how do you think this game's going to go for both teams? Is there like one team you're more excited to watch, or do you think it's going to be a close game?
I think it's going to be a close game. Obviously, the advantage is with the Raiders because Chargers defense sucks, but Austin Eckler can take over a game and have the Chargers in it and make them win. I think he's the closest to CMC you'll get in the league until Bijan Robinson starts getting featured like a running back that he's supposed to be. So I think it's a divisional game. They know each other pretty well. Raiders have an advantage, obviously. So I think the Raiders win it. Thinking more like something like 20-17 Raiders.
Yeah, that seems like a very fair bet. I was in that same range. I'll just say 24-16. I'll take the Raiders in this game. I'll throw some. I think there's going to be some field goals. Like I think taking the Raiders kicker is a good one in this game too. If you really want to jump on the prop bets for that, because like they're going to be able to move the ball against Chargers defense. It's just we saw Aiden O'Connell struggle last week, and if we didn't have the Josh Dobbs situation, like there would be more heat on Aiden O'Connell's performance last week because he was not good last week. So hopefully he kind of comes back to what we've seen before. But realistically, if they replace him with Jimmy G mid-game, I don't really think that hurts these guys. Like Jimmy G is a capable pass catcher. We've seen him manage offenses, and he's been fine. So overall, even if he gets replaced, he struggles. Like I'm not too worried about it. Easton Stick worries me a little bit more because the backup there is Max Duggan. Never played an NFL game, so we don't know how that would deteriorate. And he's more of a scrambler anyway, so like I think he hurts that offense a little bit more than say Jimmy G stepping in if that's the worst case scenario. But yeah, it should be an entertaining game. I like both these offenses in this game. If you have players going in this game, you hopefully they get in the end zone. But overall, like hopefully you're just starting, the key pieces. Yeah. You don't want to venture into the Zamir Whites and all those.
Yeah, the floor is high on the players. The upside's kind of capped unless you're Adams or Eckler.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you got, we got a couple more weeks left. What, 4 weeks left? Do you want one of these teams to make the playoffs, or would you rather have someone else make the playoffs?
I mean, in the AFC, like personally, I want to see Buffalo get in. Like obviously, like they're on the fringe, and they're a little spot above these teams because both these teams have a losing record. So like they're right there, but Chargers have a worse record. Yeah, I just want the most entertaining teams in the fantasy playoffs, right? Because I really don't care who wins. I don't have a team outside the Seahawks that I'm rooting for. So for the AFC, like it's nice when someone like Houston comes along, and obviously they're struggling right now, but you see this stuff earlier on the season, you're like, oh yeah, that's great, I love that. Or Jacksonville, teams that have struggled for a long time, so I'll root for the Lions because they've been just awful for 50 straight years, pretty much. So I'll root for those bad teams.
Recently, they're showing signs of awfulness again.
Yeah, it's kind of creeping back. It's a little disappointing to see. So yeah. And for fantasy, my brain always shifts there, so always the good offense. That's what I want to see, right?
Yeah,
it's not the best.
My team is the Broncos. I kind of want to see them in the playoffs. I think they're a pretty well balanced team that could give.
I think you need Russ to be old Russ, and he's been kind of hit or miss, but he's been good at the same time. I think he can very much give you a high floor. It's just when he's going up against the really good teams is where you desperately need it. So yeah, I think they could definitely get in, which I shocked earlier in the year. If I was thinking about teams that I had thought had no shot, it would have been Denver. But it's just been a weird year in the AFC and in the NFC. The standings are just wild. It's so many injuries. We have it feels like half of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL are now injured. So it's just all these backups. We were doing the games this morning with Aaron, and it was just backup after backup, quarterback after backup. And I was like, good grief, man, this is rough.
Yeah.
Because both these teams are currently 5-8. So whoever wins this game is going to have a significant leg up. There's still going to be a game or two behind for that final playoff spot, but this is it's going to kick one team really just out of the playoffs pretty much. So whoever loses this game, I think, is out, and that'll kind of shift for the rest of the season. But selfishly, I have players on both of these teams, so it's just a lose-lose whoever falls out. So it's hopefully this isn't too bad. Yeah, they're gonna force it. It should be a fun game. I'm actually excited for this game, and I really don't care who wins. Truth, I have almost no rooting interest, but good football. Let's hope for that. It's weird. The OC came over from Dallas to the Chargers, and Dallas looks incredible, even though we were so worried about him leaving to the Chargers. Oh, Chargers offense is going to be great. Dallas is going to suck. And Mike McCarthy's hey, guess what? I still got some stuff up my sleeve. And Dallas looks otherworldly, right? It's just, it's not how we think one thing.
I think it's typical Dallas, so they're going to choke.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have a really good defense is the key. And I mean, Dak's playing out of his mind. It's just, we'll see if it lasts, right? Because they stomped out Philly, even though there's a lot of turnovers and all that fun stuff. But yeah, this is week 15, folks. We're almost done. We're into the fantasy playoffs. So you're here, you're watching, you're in it. Hopefully your guys, if you're playing them, they succeed. If you're going against guys, hopefully they suck. You win. That's what we're here for.
All right. Yeah. Good luck to everyone that made the playoffs, and let week 1 start for the playoffs for many leagues.
Yes,
yeah. With that, I think we'll call it a night, and we'll look forward to the game. And hopefully, I'm hoping we hit 100%. I have a feeling we may. This may be the week. Jinxing myself.
We do like those overs. Hell yeah, let's go, baby.
Right? Exactly. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, folks.